I'm Tim Ventura from AmericanAntiGravity.com, and I'm speaking today with Steve McGrath, the founder of Vanguard Spacecraft. Vanguard is designing private manned spacecraft not only for the suborbital requirements of the X Prize competition, but also for later use in delivering commercial payloads to higher orbital trajectories. Well, to start right out, I visited your website, located at vanguardspace.com, and was immediately surprised to see that you're developing an incremental plan to build several smaller VX series rockets before graduating to the Eagle launch system, which will be your actual entry into the X Prize competition. Can you tell me a bit more about the smaller VX rockets?
Well, the VX rockets are an incremental set of launch vehicles used to verify all the hardware and techniques that will eventually lead to the Eagle Launch System, or the ELS.
So these are really just kind of a series of smaller systems then that build up to the larger one. Each one tests maybe a piece of the final puzzle, I guess.
Or several pieces. The VX2, for instance, tested not only a new design, but a new design for a parachute, but also tested um, a computer system for deployment and information gathering. It also tested out the parachute ejection system, which will eventually be incorporated into the Eagle launch system.
Oh. Well, your website contains a scale drawing of both the Eagle launch system and an old Titan Mercury launch platform sitting directly next to it. It appears that your design stands a bit taller than the old Titan boosters from the Mercury days. Now, how much is the Eagle platform going to cost? And how many, any ideas on the financial comparison to the old Mercury rockets?
Current estimates place construction costs at about $20 million, with an additional $10 million for administration, testing, launch, and contingency. It is difficult to adjust for about 40 years plus of inflation, but I can assure you that the ELS will cost a fraction of any government project and also generate profit, thus becoming self-sustaining. That's something that you know Mercury and the Gemini and even Apollo lacked, simply because each system has its own mission objectives.
Absolutely. Well, and one of the other advantages is that you're able to go for that commercial market after the X Prize, whereas a lot of the X Prize contestants are really just kind of limited to suborbital flights.
Oh yes, I mean I knew immediately that although it would be a great achievement to attain a suborbital flight, and those parameters were set so more flyers could enter the competition. However, I realized that real progress and for some of the real money is in a sustained presence in space by achieving orbit.
Sure. Well, a lot of the other competitors have also been leaning towards these space plane designs. In Burt Rutan's case, it was easier to compare Spaceship One with the NASA Space Shuttle rather than any of their older launch platforms. Now, your design is a bit more conventional than that, a space capsule sitting on top of a two-stage rocket booster. What made you choose this design approach?
Well, the ELS was designed to deliver large payloads into Earth orbit, as well as components for the Odyssey class deep space vessels. It was determined that a multi-stage rocket would best suit this purpose. Unlike previously designed capsules, the Eagle is a modular design which in itself can be adapted into a large number of configurations, including even a winged version.
Oh, okay. Well, you've already launched the VX1 and VX2. These were two of the smaller prototypes measuring 5 and 7 feet in height. You're currently in the process of building the VX3, which is 10 feet in length, and the VX4, which is a 17-foot tall monster that you expect to reach an altitude of 15,000 feet. Can you tell us a bit about what you expect to learn from these two prototypes and how the construction is coming along for both of them?
Well, the VX1 we basically was verification that I can affect design and build a launch vehicle. Um, it also tests the parachute design. VX2 that was an extension of the VX1, which tested um, the parachute deployment system as well as onboard electronics. Um, the VX3 will in fact be the booster stage for the VX4. Even the VX3 has a mission. It's testing a new structural system, which will eventually be employed into the ELS, and serve as the booster for the VX4, which will be our first two-stage vehicle. This will get us acquainted with stage designs of flight. Um,
Well, a bit further down the road, we come to the VX-7 launch system, which is actually a half-scale testbed for the technology that you'll be using in the VX-8, the Eagle launch platform. Now, given the expense of building each launch platform, what makes the half-scale VX-7 crucial for testing?
Well, at the time, the VX7 was to be a piloted half-scale version of the ELS. The reason for this was that it was better to risk a $5 million launch vehicle in a single pilot rather than a $20 million launch system and a crew of four. Recently, however, it was decided to build the VX7 as the booster stage for the ELS and Eagle capsule systems in a similar manner as we did the VX3 and VX4. Ultimately, not only do we get to test one of the primary systems, it turned out to be a much more economical approach.
Oh, well, up until now, you focused primarily on the incremental scaling in size, from the smallest 5-foot test platform all the way up to your full-scale 148-foot tall X Prize entry. What are some of the technologies that make your design unique, and how do these technologies scale through your range of test platforms?
Well, the development of the ELS is more of techniques rather than technologies. The Eagle is a module design based on existing available technologies. It may surprise you to know that some of the computer systems and structural systems used on the VX series could actually be used on the Eagle and are commercially available.
Okay. Well, being able to deliver orbital payloads gives you a real advantage over the X Prize competitors. It also means that you'll qualify to compete in America's Space Prize contest that Bigelow Aerospace is putting together. Now, have you made a decision about whether to enter the Bigelow contest, given that the payoff is going to be $50 million?
Well, the X Prize will have a series of follow-on events called the X Prize Cup to further develop our launch vehicles and to promote private space travel. I have not made a decision to enter the American Space Prize at this time. However, I would do so if such action would not affect my standing with the X Prize Foundation.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's really kind of an open door option then, depending on, if it doesn't cause a conflict, it'd definitely be worth competing. I mean, the payoff seems to
Oh,
be higher, so.
oh, certainly, $50 million is a good crowd to wave. As long as entering such a competition would not put me into conflict with the X Prize Foundation. They were, after all, basically took me on when most people would have completely and utterly ignored me. So there is a sense of loyalty there, and I have no wish to alienate the X Prize Foundation in any way.
Sure. Well, the other side of this is the business equation, and the X Prize entrants are already apparently making business deals. In the case of Burt Rutan, the Spaceship One design will be taking passengers into orbit as part of Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic endeavor. In your case, though, one of the potential deals might be transporting components for the planned Bigelow Space Resort. I'm wondering if you've been approached about making any business deals, with your technology and what your plans after the X Prize might be.
Well, I would be open to a business arrangement with Bigelow, especially in regard of design of the Bigelow Space Resort. I would also be open to joint development of the ELS with Bigelow. At this time, however, Vanguard has received no business offers yet.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, and it looks like, they're literally just bubbling to the surface left and right as time progresses. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think in the near future, you might start getting some calls.
Oh, certainly. I mean, you've taken the time to contact me, and that's always an encouraging sign. Things like this, they can happen in quick spurts with spasms activities or long periods of inactivity. I mean, that's just simply the nature of new and burgeoning technologies and business, especially this of ours.
Well, there's another side to this business equation as well. Burt Rutan apparently had more than a little help from billionaire Paul Allen, and Brian Feeney from the Da Vinci Project has taken a completely alternative route by making his organization into a nonprofit involving what looks like a 600-person volunteer effort. How have you been able to raise capital for this project, and are you still looking for additional funds?
Well, as of this time, I'm paying for Vanguard's efforts myself. However, I am currently offering a 10% reward program for those who refer a sponsor to Vanguard.
Oh, okay. So that could be considerable depending on the size of the donations and variety of different factors.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. Well, hopefully that'll start to bring some donors your way. Well, your website contains a page entitled Beyond the X Prize, in which you have some great computer graphics of a space dock. Can you tell us about a bit about this concept and how it will assist in future space travel?
Well, a space dock is an assembly and repair facility to build to accommodate the Odyssey-class deep space vessels. Space docks, space dock could also be used to assemble space station, deep space probes, etc.
So it's really going to be kind of a multi-purpose, just to be able to put things together in space then.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it looks like there's something else associated with it as well. The space dock also contains something that looks like a deep sea submersible. It's called the Orbital Utility Vehicle, and it's intended for use both in space vehicle repairs as well as potential space rescue applications. Can you tell me a bit more about this device?
The orbital utility vehicle is a module in-space system to be used in almost any application to suit nearly any mission. And it is design is inspired by deep-sea submersibles. I've noticed just how versatile those vehicles can be, and I merely adapted it to working in space.
Sure. Well, the other part is this might, in kind of a weird sense, be the world's first true space vehicle because it's not designed to get into space, right? It'll be transported up into space on a rocket and then will be designed exclusively for use in a zero-G environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes it very unique, almost like the pods in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Well, it's some inspiration was derived from the pod. And just as a sidebar, during my research after I designed the OUV, I've come to realize that Werner von Braun designed a similar vehicle back in the 50s. So it's good to know that that I seem to be on to a good thing, especially when someone of von Braun's caliber came up with a similar idea years before I was even born.
Absolutely. Well, and it seems like NASA has kind of gone the other way with the maneuvering units. I can't remember the name offhand, but they're basically a backpack that uses compressed gas to move around. One of
Oh,
the
that would be the. I'm sorry. That would be the manned maneuvering unit or the MMU.
Yeah, the disadvantage with those though is that you're really exposed to the environment. The spacesuit's out in the open, and I don't think it's comfortable for long-term work. It's really just meant to do a task and then be done with it. Whereas with yours, it looks like somebody could stay in that for 10 to 12 hours while they're working on a complex task.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, the OAV would be designed to work in an 18-hour workday environment. It would also be in a pressurized capsule, which means you can work in a shirt-sleeve environment. As anyone who has actually worn a spacesuit for hours on end would tell you, you really miss the opportunity to give your nose a good scratching when it gets itchy on an 18-hour spacewalk.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and God forbid they sneeze. Well, as you know, American Anti-Gravity is becoming a nonprofit organization. We're also on the funding path, not only to build our news service, but also to raise capital to fund a few key experiments in anti-gravity research. Any advice on fundraising that you might be able to share with us?
Well, due to the cutting edge of your research, finding people to invest in your project will be difficult at best. However, a pattern of successful related projects will increase your credibility and attract interest and eventually investors.
That's definitely one of our hopes. We're also looking at becoming kind of an infrastructure for breakthrough propulsion news, and it seems like we're on our way to that. So,
Great.
yeah. Well, speaking of anti-gravity, my gut feeling is that the technologies we're working on will eventually dovetail directly into the private space effort that you're building today. Any thoughts on how anti-gravity might be integrated at some future point into your own technologies to improve their performance?
Well, controlled anti-gravity would be an advancement to say the least. Such technology would revolutionize not only space travel, but also terrestrial industries such as construction, storage, transportation, shipping, medicine, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I've wondered from the car industry is that when a new technology comes out in the automotive industry, it usually doesn't displace the existing technologies. It becomes integrated into them. And so I've almost wondered to some degree if that will happen in the case of anti-gravity. Maybe it'll become integrated into a rocket system and then eventually over a 10, 20, 30-year time frame displace it entirely. So,
Well, much like jet propulsion eventually replaced propeller propulsion, and the transition was the turboprop.
sure, sure. Well, one of the side effects of anti-gravity research seems to be emerging evidence for gravity beams. These will either have push or pull effects, which means that they'll be able to be used in deflecting space debris, as well as possibly even the classic tractor beam application. Any ideas how you might use something like this in your spacecraft?
Well, your question already provides an answer to two of Vanguard's primary uses, as well as new construction techniques, microgravity training, etc.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, Robert Heinlein once said that once you've reached space, you're halfway to anywhere. In the case of Vanguard, does that mean that you'll begin looking at operations further away from Earth in the near future, or will you be keeping a core focus on goals a bit closer to home by focusing on payload delivery?
Well, Project Odyssey is meant as an adaptable deep space platform for operations throughout the solar system and with advancing technology beyond.
Okay. Well, where do you think Vanguard will be in 10 years and maybe even in 20?
Well, Vanguard has plans for lunar and mariner operations with proper resources. Lunar operation goals could be reached within 2 to 5 years. Mars operations could easily be met within the 20-year timetable with the appropriate resources.
So on the Mars in 20 years. That's remarkable. Well, thanks.
And that's leaving a considerable margin of time. Once Project Odyssey has conducted lunar operations, it would take very minimal modifications to adapt such a vessel for a trip to Mars.
Well, thanks again for your time, Steve. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to learn more about Vanguard Spacecraft and wish you the best of luck in the X Prize. And I guess I should also read your URL off. It's www.vanguardspace.com. And anyone in the audience who'd like to learn a little bit more about your X Prize entry can visit you there, right?
Yes, they can. They can reach me at the numbers. Also, I'd like to introduce an addendum to an earlier question you mentioned about, where is it? Here it is. About offering business offers. I would also like to point out that the folks at B2 Rocketry had provided their Sky Angle parachute. That's the system that we chose. So I did receive some sponsorship in the form of the parachutes for the VX1 through 4 vehicles.
Oh, so B2 Rocketry has been kind of a help then in providing some sponsorship.
They've been a tremendous help, and they have a revolutionary parachute design which auto-rotates, similar to a propeller blade, which stabilizes its descent rather than random landing by the usual canopy parachutes. It's quite a very fascinating design and well thought out.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks again for your time, and best of luck in the competition.
Well, best of luck in your research. I look forward to seeing the results of your fascinating anti-gravity research.
Thanks again.